Right. Okay. Okay, so just a quick update on what's going on. Streamed a little earlier this week. I'll say it now, I'll probably say it multiple times during the stream, but I won't be streaming on Thursday. Instead, I'm going to stream today and tomorrow. So Tuesday and Wednesday. Only a short one today, I'll do a longer stream tomorrow. That's because I've had to rearrange some things in my week. So no stream on Thursday, stream today and tomorrow. Okay. I was hoping to go back to the first map I was working on today, but unfortunately I was running some playtests earlier today and there's still a few, there's too many issues with the movement to start balancing the map. So I'm leaving the balance, because that map's at the point that it's ready to be balanced, so I'm leaving that for now. And instead we are going to go back to the Holdout Extreme, which still had quite a bit of setup that needed to be done on it. I haven't done any of the underground mobs yet, and I wanted to do something a little bit different with that. At least I wanted to try it, see if we can get away with it. In that, I wanted to try randomizing it a little bit. Alright, Raptor, good to have you with us. So I wanted to try randomizing the underground mobs a tiny amount. So we'll see what we can do with that. And I believe I was still working on the unlock system with the... Yeah, so I got that working to an extent. Yeah, it looks like it's working quite well. So yeah, we'll get back on this then, shall we? Okay, I'm going to try playing around with this, with randomizing the groups. So, as such, I'm going to open up the level blueprint. We'll take a look at what we can do. We shall take a look at what we can do. Random tile surface. Random caverns. Okay, so this is the first time I've experimented with this. So I'm not really sure what the result's going to be. But here we go anyway. So let me just test something. Okay, so this tile, remember that tile? Remember this tile here? So the top left of my base. I'm going to turn these tiles into a cavern in the code, and we'll see what happens. Oh, is it morning in your area? It's afternoon for me, but good morning nonetheless. Okay, so let's run a little test on this, shall we? Actually, I'm just going to do it to 1 to start with. Let's see if this works. So, left bracket to test it. Well, I hope it is a good morning over there. It's like, it's 10 to 4 here. Okay, so that should flag it as a cavern, and if I press that, so that did not work. So that one did work. I wonder why that didn't. Ah, that'll be why. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, 11:52. Good time. So basically, I'm gonna want to get. Now I can either do this by just storing a load of cavern start points, or I can try and make it randomly get cavern tiles. Problem with trying to just randomly get a tile is that it might pick one of these. I'd be fine if it picked any of these, but if it picks one of these and it's inaccessible, it might be a bit annoying. Maybe there's a really easy way of checking. Or I could turn them all into impenetrable tiles down there. Alternatively, I could plonk like a point here, and then make it grab a tile near that point. So do a check for nearby objects. If it went for all the objects it finds, it grabs a few tiles. Do the same for there and there. And then there's the next question of how do I make it generate the shape of the caverns? And then finally it needs to populate them with creatures. Additionally, we need to put some thought into the into the food that's on the map, and whether we want additional food to become available or whether you have to deal with it from the attack waves. There's quite a few questions for us to answer here, really. And then when it does generate the caverns, it needs. So let's say it got this tile here randomly, and then it tried to build a cavern that was right the way over here. So it tried to build it so that like this was the cavern. it needs to know if it tries to turn that into a cavern that it can't. So what it's got to do is it's got to work out whether it's bordering a tile that's dug out. Now they probably have that information, but I'm not sure where it is. And we also need to decide whether you get a random amount of enemy creatures and food, or whether it's more specific than that. So much to decide. I think the best approach to start with is to create some points which are going to be the central points for creating the caverns. It's going to be from there that it's going to search for tiles. So let's call it cavern gen point. Cavern gen point 2. Cavern gen point 3. See, I could get a little bit more specific than this, because basically I'm going to be looking in a radius. A radius here will have to stop about there. However, I could make some smaller ones here as well. But either way, let's work with the 3 that we've put down to start with. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, God, I'm forgetting stuff. Can't remember if I had 3 things to it, whether it's size 3 or size 2. I think it'll be size 2. Size 3. Good job, I checked. Hang on. Actually, because this minus is 1 for me. Yeah, it does. So that's fine. Okay, so there we go. We're getting a random one of those. Next. Next, we need to find the nearby tiles. There we are. World static. Sphere radius. Okay, so this is just going to show me what it's doing. Let's start with 600. See what that looks like. Okay, now there's a few people here. I'm going to say it again. There won't be a stream on Thursday. I'm streaming tomorrow instead. Today's stream is going to be a short one, but tomorrow's stream should be of a normal length. Okay, so that should show me the radius that it's getting the underground tiles from. Actually, I can make it. One moment, it's saving. We should see a bit of debug sphere somewhere. Okay, there. Right, so it can get tiles from a larger radius than that. So let's up that a bit. Probably want to move that slightly to the right. Yeah, I definitely do. Right, so, and essentially what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to get a random tile within that radius. Turn it into a cavern. But with circular caverns, this might actually be quite easy. Okay, so that's it getting a random tile within that radius. So what it's going to want to do then, nothing like recent events to remind me that this game is a thing that exists, something to be thankful for. Yeah, don't we know it? What a time. Okay. So at this point, I don't actually want to cast that, I think. So at the minute, I'm just going to try and make a circular cavern. So let's... So I'm going to use the starting tile as a point and then draw a circle around it, get all the tiles in that circle, try and turn them all into caverns. That's the plan. So I don't know if you had time to read or if reading is your hobby, but there's a fiction book online called Chrysalis about a guy being reincarnated as an ant. Alright, cool. That sounds really cool. There's a couple of good books I've been recommended. I don't find a huge amount of time to read, not with being a father now, but I'll have to keep an eye out. Okay. So I want to do another sphere overlap actors. For exactly the same thing. Right, how big do we want the rooms? Okay, so this is going to be another thing. At the moment, I'll just make it random again. So smallest room can be, let's say, 7 tiles, which I think 300 should cover it. Biggest room be the next one up, so 500. Okay. Just whilst we're dipping our toe in the water here. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn them all into caverns. So that's literally going to turn all of that into caverns. I will test that. And I'll draw a different debug sphere. I've got to save this into a variable here because it's one of the little things that's worth knowing in UE4 is if a function's like if the function's like this and doesn't have an execution pin, it will run the function every time something is drawn from it. So for example, if I tried to draw a debug sphere from that and then do that, they show different numbers. So in order to get Oh no, I want to do that before actually. There we go. Okay. So this should show me where a cavern's been created, and tunneling to that cavern should technically tunnel it out. Earlier this week I was working on, well yesterday it will be, I was working on creature jumping, and I got it working to an extent. Liam wants to revisit it. Hang on. Okay, I'm just going to follow this now, because I actually don't know if it was getting any tiles. Oh no, hang on. I remember, I didn't press the button. I forgot I had to press the button to activate it. Yeah, there. Okay, so that should be a cavern. So if I tunnel over to that. Fortunately, it's one that's quite far away. Yeah, I'm trying to show how. I mean, this is just going to be a very basic version of it, but this is kind of how randomized procedural things can be made. Ah. Okay. So we're going to have to see what's wrong. So, I see what's wrong. See, what I was talking about, I need to draw that out of the variable that was set. So there's only one drawn out of it. That might have been a really tiny cavern. I think what I'm going to also do though is I'm going to step through the program to make sure it's actually doing it. You got keep an eye on them whilst they're tunneling out. Okay, so there's the next one. Right, whilst they're tunneling there, I am actually just going to have a quick look to see if them. Okay, so that hasn't been flagged as a cavern, so it's clearly not working. The fact it makes it this far though means that's working. That's fetching tiles. So let's actually just put a breakpoint in and see. They can, yeah, they can. Although you'll notice at the minute these ants are stuck with eggs in their mouth. It's one of the it's the most recent bug that I spotted with Liam's code. And it's nothing to do with them actually being stuck with eggs in their mouth. What's actually happened is they are just stuck. So basically, because they're stuck, they assume they've arrived at the queen to pick up the egg, because they're no longer moving, so they just pick up the egg. Right, so let's see if that... Okay, so that does return. There we go. Okay. So it looks like it is flagging them. 10046. Right. Yeah, so here you can see there has been a cavern made, but it's not where the thing's showing up. Let's have just a quick look at this. Why would that be? Right. Okay. So again, as I said, with the random number, this is a perfect example of it actually in place. Because I've pulled randomly, and there's no execution pin on any of these, I've pulled a random integer out. The first time it requires this is drawing the debug sphere. So it goes back here, runs that function, runs that, it goes back, sees it needs that, and then runs random integer, producing a random integer, and then when it's actually doing it, it does it again. Like I said, there's no execution pins on any of these. So if I create a variable and set a variable, and we use that variable instead, so it's only ever pulling once out of the random integer. That should solve that problem. I explained the problem and then do it anyway. No, it's nothing to do with the actual initial nest size. It's just to do with the updated movement code that still needs stuff ironing out on it. Like if I run it now and don't do anything to them, oh, they're actually moving around fine. Well, never mind then. It's not my job to fix that, it's Liam's. Okay, so now we should see that this is indeed a cavern. Yep, it's cavern. Okay, and as such, if I tunnel to it, we should see the code pick it up as a cavern and tunnel it out. What? Ah, sorry, I missed you, Dat Boy, I thought. Good to have you with us. Always good to have you back with us. It's a shorter stream today. It's probably going to be an hour, so... We've lost them again. There we are. All he needed was a little nudge. Oh, there we are. Yep, cavern's worked. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is prevent it from, if it puts the sphere here, what I want it to do is to turn like this into a cavern, all of this area into a cavern, but then the one layer at the edge not to be a cavern, so you could actually tunnel to it. So this one's a little bit trickier, but it shouldn't be too bad. Basically, on each tile in the cavern, we need to then look at each of their neighbouring tiles, and if any of their neighbouring tiles is dug out, they need to not become a cavern. So, and this is a calculation that only happens once in the level because it will be a bit intensive, because each individual tile's now got to look at 6 of the tiles. So I actually think it's on the tile grid from what I remember. There's a function for it on tile grid. No. No, that's a very specific function there. Update neighbor refuse score offset. Sounds very leaf cuttery. There's a definite way for a tile to get its neighbouring tiles. In fact, I think there's something called neighbour intact flags. Right, I think we're going to need to go to the code for this one. No, that's tile intact points. There's a good chance as well there's a bot helper function for this. I think it's this one, shared construction functions. Oh, there you go. Return hex tiles. So what that'll do is that'll return the tiles in a hexagon around the let's see if I can just access that function. Return hex tiles, there we go. Central tile. Okay, so here we're getting a, I would guess ring level would be 1. But we shall see. Tile grid. Oh, I've got to give the tile grid as well, because of course there can be multiple tile grids. Don't know what ring only means, but we shall see. So for each one, we need to check if it's dug. And if that's true, we're actually going to break the loop. So in the case of it being true, yeah, I'm going to add a boolean in. call this so before it does it, it's going to set intact check to false. I've said it's true. If it finds one that's broken, if it finds a neighbour that's broken, it's going to set intact check to false. So then at the end, one sec. Hello, Cian Ragnarok. Cian Ragnarok. Good to have you back with us. Okay, so we're doing finally we do an intact check. If intact is true, then we set it as a cavern. Else if it's been set to false, we don't do anything. Okay. Now let's run a few tests. I believe if I keep hitting the left bracket one, it should just create loads of these caverns. I'm waiting for one to be off the edge so I can have a look. But in fact, the amount of caverns it creates should start to get a bit exponential. Really had one off the edge yet, to be fair. Okay, there we go. In fact, this would be an interesting fringe case. Okay, that's good. That's not set to a cavern. That is a cavern, right. Okay, so what we should see, if we tunnel down to this, is that all of that digs out apart from that thin layer at the edge. Let's see what happens. It might slow down when it tunnels out, because I don't think we've ever had a cavern that big. Hey, perfect. And down here as well. Okay, so getting these basic random caverns is actually going alright. Getting them going. So, now, question is, how random do we actually want to be? So, we can be completely unconstrained random. So, it could generate a random cavern and put some random creatures in it. And a random amount of food. And everyone would feel really random. However, it might be fairer not to do that, because else you'll get what, like, for example, what I was doing when I was playing There Are Billions is I was starting a game and having a quick look at my surroundings, closing it, starting again, quick look, close it, until I got the perfect start. And that's what people will do with this. They'll say, no, not enough food nearby, close, reopen. Not too many enemies nearby, close, reopen. And I don't think that's a particularly fun way to do it. So maybe we try and... You're a little bit late. It's not very long stream anyway. Daniel Sly, good to have you back with us, by the way. I didn't announce to anyone that this stream was coming up. I had my head in. Well, I was trying to get the other level working because I got jumping working again. I was trying to get the other level working, but there's some strange movement issues going on at the moment, as you all know, and it wasn't quite good enough to actually go back to the other level, which just needs balance. So I spent most of my day doing that, and then now we've come back to this. Okay, so to start with, I will just put some random stuff in, random amount of tile surfers and a random amount of okay, so that gets the tiles and radius from the initial tile. Flag, tile, flag, tiles that can be flagged, caverns. Just close the window one second, guys. Actually, they're off anyway, so. Okay. Okay, so that's flagging them. Next, we're going to generate resources and such on the tiles themselves. But let's create a tile surf on every tile that is flagged to start with. Okay, so I'm just going to neaten this up a little bit by creating a variable. Because we're about to do a few extra things to this tile. Okay, so what I want to do is get actor. I don't want to do spawn AI from class. I don't want an AI. Spawn actor from class, there we are. Okay, oh. Okay, so there we are. We're just spawning a tile surfer. can't remember what it's called. It might be something class. No, let's have a look at the tile surfer. I completely forgot what it's called. Devil's Coach. Or, no, it's Beast to spawn. This is back to when we started. They're technically beasts, the things that aren't ants in the game. We call them beasts just to get a name to. There's to be a blanket term for them. Kind of. It's gonna be because Surrounded's more Surrounded a lot of creatures. Surrounded was meant to feel more like free play. I think this is going to be. I think the enemies are going to attack you in this, so it's going to feel more like the waves on Surrounded. But I'm trying to add random elements to add replayability to it, but I also don't want it to be too random. So yeah, it's going to be more around along the lines of Holdout than Surrounded. Well, anything doesn't really matter at the minute. Okay, so fingers crossed. Pressing the button now should put one tile surfer on each tile. Hey, there we go. That's a lot of tile surfers. Oh god, this is going to be carnage. Right, these are beach tiger beetle small, so I should be absolutely destroyed by this.
The ants will fight to the death. The queen is in imminent danger.
Well, that worked very well. Okay. So, a couple of things next. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to store a list of all the tiles that I'm allowed to use. So everyone that passes this check is going to come into a list. It's going to be in this viewed cavern, which is going to be an array of tile surfers. Of tiles, sorry. And when it starts this thing, it's going to clear the list. It's empty, I think. Clear, just clear. Just clear. Going to clear the list. Then the list is going to get repopulated. And then once it's finished, okay, so what's that? That's getting the tiles in the initial radius. Once it's finished, we're then going to make some decisions on this. So again, we're going to pull another random number out. Well, we'll do that in a moment. First of all, we're going to make a decision. Yeah, we are going to... So a random integer between 1 and how many tiles there are. Now I'm going to set that now. I'm not going to make the same mistake. So what's this? Tile surface to spawn. Okay, so it's going to set that value. Then do a for loop. With that value. For each one, it's going to get a random tile. A lot of random going on at the minute. We'll have to rein that in a bit. Random tile in this random thing, the random. And then we're going to spawn one on that random tile. Now, additionally, I'm going to move the point a random distance from the center of the tile. So our spawn location. So a tile underground, I believe, is 100 radius, and I want to give some slack at the edges, so probably 80. So I want to get a point 80 from the central point. One sec. Anyway, random unit vector in cone in degrees from stream from random unit vector in cone in radius from stream. I don't want a cone. Okay, I'll come up with my own way of doing this. Okay, so this is a vector. Don't care about the Z. Fact. The Z location will copy from the tile that we're generating it at. Which isn't that actually. Here's another case of me using random integer without storing it. And this is actually going to become important now. So direct a variable. Okay, so what was I doing here? This is going through the cavern, setting the tile surface to spawn. Loop body. Okay, so it's going to set the selected tile. Now I'm generating my random floating range between -80 and 80. So I want this in the X and Y. So it's not that tile actually, it's that one. I can go. Okay. So that should randomize the start spawn location of it. Okay, so for each of this random amount of times, we go through picking a random tile, move the central point a random distance in the X and Y between -80 and 80. So it should be a random point that's on the tile. It's a lot of random. Good old unconstrained randomness. This can generate real balance issues if you give too much randomness. Okay, let's see what that does. I believe that needs to happen after that's completed. So this should be I'm going to close the outside door because I think someone's fixing a car out there. You don't want to hear a car broken engine rev every now and then. Willy Wonka called, he wants his RNG back. Yeah, we'll start constraining this randomness soon. We'll start doing stuff like instead of just a random amount of them on this tile, we will have an aim for an amount of. Well, I think his actions were pretty RNG based. Willy Wonka's actions. Okay, let's see what this does. And the idea with this is that they should look a bit more organic, like it does in the game. Like they're a bit. Some of them might be clustered. Some of them might be over another side. Let's see. Let's see how it goes, shall we? I suspect that's, although that is technically possible, I suspect it's highly unlikely. So, yeah, it's a bug. Okay, I've probably just done the... It could be a few things. I don't need the tile surfer open anymore. Could indeed be a few things. But it's more than likely to do with this clear. Yeah, that's what it is. So essentially, every time it's running it, it's re-clearing this array. So if we clear the array before this runs, then it'll only clear it once. Maybe he was. How do you program Chaos Incarnate? Lots of RNG? Okay, that looks a lot better. Run a quick test though. I want to see if some of these might have been moved too far. I actually think I have gone too far. I think it's only 50. So rather than minus 80, it needs to be minus 40. Plus 40. Oh no, they all... Oh no, there's one.
The ants must fight. The ants must protect the queen.
One that didn't trigger. Just let it happen. You automate the program to program itself. Yeah, I can see that. But you just... But to automate the program to program itself, surely that is just random key presses. Okay, so... What am I thinking? I'm thinking I need to rein the edge of the thing in. So, for example, the X location of that one is 450, then 200. So that's... $450, 200. 450, 200. So they're 150 wide, are they? No, because they overlap, don't they? These, in fact, this is the better thing to check. So the Y on it, 5109, 5282. Seems like such a strange value. Either way, it needs to be reined in at an amount. So I think rather than getting a headache over this, let's just bring it in a bit. Let's try 60. We're fairly close to the end of the stream for today, chaps. Tomorrow I think I will be continuing with this. And then that'll be it for this week. Only 2 spawn then. Well, that's the thing about RNG, right? Pray to RNGesus. Have all my ants broken? Yes, all my ants have broken. Take the wall! All is lost. That must be some of Liam's debug code. All is lost. There's RNG in operation for you. See, this is another thing we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to stop it doing placing it if the tile next to it's a cavern as well. If the tile next to it's already a cavern, we don't want caverns to overlap and end up with these mega caverns. Zia's theme. Don't think I know it. Ah, they're all broken again. Maybe I need to dig faster. Okay, so one of them's moving there. I should probably have a quick check on the source code to see if Liam's sent in any more updates for his movement code. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, no failures there.
Must fight.
Okay, there's another question as well, which is going to come very soon. Bastion. Okay, the next question that's coming very soon is, which creatures do we choose? Which creatures do we choose? Right. Mantis. Well, every tile surfer is Mantis. Sounds like a great idea. Thanks, Daniel. Right. It's gonna have to be a question for tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be on earlier, probably about 11 UK time. And we'll be continue working on this. So it's been a shorter stream today, and it'll be a longer one tomorrow. Huntsman. All huntsmen, yeah. So yeah, we'll continue this. I'll work on the random tile surfer stuff, which seems to be going quite well, actually. I need to put food in underground as well to make it worth your while tunneling it out. And then we need to put in like checks to make sure the reward there is sensible to the amount of creatures that are in. So on and so forth. All that's coming tomorrow. Right. So thanks very much for joining me. And just a quick reminder, that I'm not streaming on Thursday, but I'm streaming tomorrow. So yeah, slightly different schedule this week. Still like everything, yeah. Right, I will see you tomorrow. Thanks very much for joining.